Wow. Good morning. I'm always, I'm always amazed at how many people will turn out at 7:30 in the morning for this breakfast. Thank you so much, Paul, Tammy, and Enrique, for your leadership and inspiring commitment to this community. I can't think of things that are that important for us to be addressing right now, but I think that developing current and future leaders is such important work, especially for this time. I'd really like to thank our board of directors for their leadership and support of us at the Wilder Foundation. Thank you as well to all of our volunteers, staff, and donors who continue to dedicate their time and resources to the Wilder Foundation. If any of you have ever talked to me, I know that you've heard me say this, that the enterprise of the Wilder Foundation is so much larger than the staff who are actually just there in the organization. The Wilder Foundation has been serving low-income and vulnerable residents in our capital city of St. Paul and the greater East metropolitan area since 1906. 106 years as a place-based organization, serving all of you and holding us accountability to those of you who call this community home. It's pretty impressive when I think about it. And today, what I'd like to do is talk to you about the people that we're here for and about our future. At the Wilder Foundation, we often talk about children and people who are at risk or vulnerable, meaning those who may have barriers to being successful and fully productive citizens of their current life and because of their current life condition. But if we really, really think about it, it's we, all of us in this room, who are actually the ones that are at risk. Now, why in the world would I say this to you? The reason why I'm saying it is because there are really unprecedented shifts in demographics that are driving the future of St. Paul and the related social and economic outcomes that are coming with it that are going to impact each and every one of us. So first, as a state, we're getting much older, if you haven't noticed. The number of people over age 65 will double by the year 2030. And last year was actually the first year that we had more people retiring out of the workforce than entering the workforce. Second, we're more racially diverse. Did you know that 75% of the kids in the St. Paul Public Schools are children of color? And third, and more importantly, regardless of race, 1 out of every 3 children in the city of St. Paul lives in poverty. And it's not okay. We've always known that children are our future, but more so than ever, as the demographics shift, these tiny little ones hold inside of them the hope and all the potential of the future. We need each of them to succeed, because if they don't, there won't be enough of us who are working in the future to support those of us who are aging. But here's the thing that puts us at risk. A child who grows up in poverty is less likely to graduate from high school, less likely to go to college, and less likely to make a living wage. A poor child is more likely to start school behind and is more likely to drop out, depend on public assistance, and commit crimes. We're the ones that are at risk because we're the ones who will have to depend on this future generation to build and sustain our economy as we age. We need strong leadership. We need strong leadership, particularly as we face a new economic reality, one in which the massive growth we have enjoyed for decades has changed. Never in history has the American dream of social mobility, social and economic mobility, been more difficult to achieve. A recently released Gallup poll shows that for the first time in the poll's history, Americans believe that their own children will be worse off than they are. If the American dream was achievable for so many of us, if not in this generation, then in previous generations, it is so less achievable right now, and I don't think that's okay either. It's imperative that we ensure all children succeed regardless of household income. We must work together so that all of us can do better. When I think about it, Amherst Wilder's daughter, Cornelia, used to walk into the poor parts of this town and hand out $5 bills. We don't hand out cash anymore. Instead, we invest in programs that'll help people move out of poverty. We create access to opportunities for children and families to stabilize and move up the economic ladder through our supportive housing services, school success programs, and even leadership programs. Who knew, for example, that a homeless mother who moved here 12 years ago would become a state representative? We believed in that person. We provide relief to people in times of need, and then we equip them with the skills to be more successful. For example, we know the achievement gap starts early, so we invest in early childhood education. Take, for example, a little girl I'm going to call Nancy, who's sitting right now at our Child Development Center. Nancy's living proof that our programs work. She'd tell you that she's had a wonderful and safe place to go and learn, grow, and then prepare for kindergarten. But Nancy also moved 3 times last year, and one of her parents lost a job. The good news is she hasn't been hungry all year. And the gifts that we generated at this breakfast kept her in one of the highest quality daycares in the state of Minnesota, ours. So she will be prepared to learn. Sometimes we invest for a long time. The output is years in coming. So over 10 years ago, with the support of the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, Wilder brought the Incredible Years curriculum to St. Paul. This is a program that addresses social and emotional well-being, which we know has to be the foundation for early learning to occur. When the grant ran out, we used gifts from donors to continue the program. We kept evaluating it through our research arm, using it to address the barriers that low-income children have to learning. And guess what? It does work. And now we're sharing our experiences with others in the East Metro, and there's a big push at the state to make this happen statewide. Yes, it does take a long time sometimes, but we're in for the long haul, because the reality of our changing demographics means that Nancy's success means that we will be more successful in this community. All the Nancys in this community have to have the opportunity to succeed because our future depends on it. We know what works in this room to ensure that St. Paul remains a vibrant community. We must invest in its people. At the same time, we're investing in children and families. We can't forget that we must figure out how best to support those who are aging. This huge demographic reality is affecting our workforce, our healthcare systems, and putting new demands on human services organizations. And by the way, when society doesn't do its job well, they show up at the Wilder Foundation. So we see how all of this is coming together. At Wilder, we're finding solutions to help seniors remain independent and healthy. At our Center for Aging, we're doing things such as co-locating primary care services on site, addressing chronic diseases, and working with caregivers. Providing support to caregivers is a critical piece of the solution. So many of us take our parents or neighbors to the doctor, we help get groceries, we do housework. 90% of caregiving is provided by friends and family. And for every 1% decline in the state of Minnesota, it costs us $30 million. It turns out that even though caregivers may be stressed out, missing work, or getting sick themselves, they don't think of themselves as caregivers and therefore can't access any help. So we developed a campaign last year enlisting many partners and helping caregivers to self-identify. In doing so, these caregivers are able to access resources to support them so they can, in turn, support their loved ones to stay in the community. The need for more effective community-based services to support older adults and their caregivers is essential because it's not only smart, it's actually affordable. There's a high cost, literally, if we don't intervene to address the growing demand on resources in new and different ways, and that's what we're about. The trade-offs between the old and the young is happening in front of our very eyes. At Wilder, we believe that every individual, young, old, people with disabilities, doesn't matter, that people have intrinsic value. We believe that who you're born to, where you were born, and how much money you have should not determine your destiny. Nor should it determine the quality of care that you receive at the beginning or at the end of your life. At Wilder, we've always been investors and capacity builders in people and systems. We do so by using our research, direct services, and community building expertise to build partnerships, to bring people together, to create solutions to address vital community issues. I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm laying up at night and I worry about our community, and it's my job to worry, right, as the president of the Wilder Foundation. But I think to myself, you know, I've never seen the needle move on issues that I care about simply with great ideas or intellectual capital alone. Acting together has always been a part of the change equation. And each of you as leaders, as community members, can be a part of that solution. Of this, I'm absolutely sure, especially leading during this time, that the leadership required of us in this time is different than before, and that the future is unlike anything any of us have ever seen. We must carve out the paths ourselves. In the words of Hubert Humphrey, we can always debate about what we should have done, but the question is, what are you going to do? The decisions and investments, my friends, colleagues, and others, the decisions and investments we make today will define for the future at least 3 generations. And at the end of the day, when I'm old and I sit somewhere and no longer can lead the Wilder Foundation, I will live with the consequences of the decisions that we have made as a community together to invest or not invest. I hope you can embrace that action is a part of the social change equation when we ask you for help to move this community forward. Thank you.